Real quick, before we get into the show, I wanted to share a new service called Getita that Ken and I have been using that has made us over $10,000 in Amazon reimbursements. The service requires no monthly subscription, and Getita collects a small percentage of the money they recover for you. It takes less than 5 minutes to set up and works on all Amazon marketplaces. Go to Getita.com, Getida, and enter promo code FTM400. That's FTM for Firing the Man 400 to get your first $400 in reimbursements commission free. How much money does Amazon owe you?
Welcome everyone to the Firing the Man podcast, a show for anyone who wants to be their own boss. If you sit in a cubicle every day and know you are capable of more, then join us. This show will help you build a business and grow your passive income streams in just a few short hours per day. And now your hosts, serial entrepreneurs David Schomer and Ken Wilson.
Welcome, everyone, to the Firing the Man podcast. On today's episode, we have the privilege to interview Brandon Steiner. Brandon is a trailblazer in the world of sports marketing and entrepreneurship. He's the founder and president of the Steiner Agency, a renowned athlete procurement source and the vision behind Collectible Exchange, an innovative platform for sports enthusiasts. We're very excited to have Brandon on the show. Welcome, Brandon.
Well, thanks for having me. Look forward to talking to you about this. Listen, at the end of the day, I'm an open book. You enter leadership, entrepreneurism, online selling. Obviously, I'm a technology immigrant, but I've built two new companies that are completely different than what I've done before. I think it's just never too late. You got a dream, you got a vision about what you want.
Awesome. Well, we're really hearing more about that. So to start things off, can you please share with our listeners a little bit about your background and what you're currently working on?
Sure. Listen, most people know me from Steiner Sports, and they have 35 years. I built that company up. It's a great company. I'm not there anymore. There's no more Steiner at Steiner. 4 years ago, I started a new company called Collectible Exchange. Recently, I just purchased a company called StartStock. And between these two companies, there's over 1.5 million trading cards. We help people, evaluate, grade it, source out. If you're sitting with a lot of trading cards, you're not sure what to do with it, which a lot of people are, we help you. And then Collectible Exchange is really just a true marketplace where you buy it, sell memorabilia. There's 150,000 items on the site. We just partnered up with eBay, so our site now is partnered up with eBay on top of it. And my new show starts February 3rd, 4th, where I'll be interviewing athletes multiple times a week, talking about collectibles, trading cards, sports business, sales, entrepreneurship, and really just helping people understand how the hobby and industry work. There's thousands and thousands of items out there, but a lot of them are not necessarily the right things or good things to buy. So I'm hoping that show will, be able to show people some of those things that they should buy, things to avoid. And we're going to do a lot of experiential stuff, getting fans and customers closer to the game, meet and greets, Q&A, clinic that you also be able to get online, and which is something I really did a lot of at Steiner. And now I'll be doing a lot more of that with my new company, Collectible Exchange. So I've been busy. I'm working on a 4th book, nothing to do with sports, but we'll get into that later. And then, I've written 3 other books. The books are free on Collectible Exchange. Go on these, pay for the shipping, and I'm happy to personalize or write a note on there, whatever it is. But you'll see after this conversation what part of one of those 3 books you may want. I'm happy to go on the website and pick one up.
Nice. No, that sounds awesome. And so glad to have you on the show, Brandon. Excited to dig into this. And first question I've got for you. Once I saw your bio and saw all the athletes that you've been working with, I was super excited. So you've worked with legends like Derek Jeter, Eli Manning, Mark Messier. What have we learned from athletes at that stature about leadership and teamwork that can be applied to other businesses or other spaces?
Well, listen, I think just to be a professional athlete, you're already an anomaly. I mean, there's something special. You can't just become a professional athlete. I mean, you're talking about a lottery ticket to get to play at a pro level. And then to be the best of the best amongst those, there's a level of extraordinary. And that's what I learned is that there's probably 2 most important lessons. And one is, you have to have a strategy, a confidence in yourself, and then a confidence in God. There's got to be a faith when you go into these kind of situations where you're talking again about some of the most difficult, highest level of competition. You got to make sure that you got a confidence in yourself, a certain level of confidence, a certain level of strategy about how you want to go about your business. And then you got to have faith that the good Lord's going to take you where you need to go. And the second most important that I hear and I see is there is no such thing as a big game. You have to be in You have to be on the highest level every day. There is no like day off or I had a bad week. Every day you've got to be trying to reach your highest level and then beat it. So, give you an example. I was at spring training one year. It was in March and the Yankees were playing Tampa Bay and I was doing an appearance with Mariano Rivera, pretty good closer in his time and certainly one of the most consistent pitchers we've ever seen ever. And he was supposed to meet me after the game. And in the fifth inning, he came down, sat down next to me. I'm like, what are you doing here? I thought we were meeting after the game. He goes, no, I pitched last inning. I told Joe, which is Joe Torre, that I needed to do something after the game so he could put me in earlier. I said, that's just a spring training. He goes, I went and got a pretzel. I didn't see him pitch. It's not a spring training. Are you kidding me? I just knocked that 1, 2, 3, 9 pitches. I said, yeah, but spring training, who cares? He goes, I go on the mound in the middle of March, same way I would in a World Series game, in a playoff game, game 7, doesn't matter, 9th inning, doesn't matter. My approach never changes. This way, when I go into a game 7 and we're in the World Series, the bottom of the 9th, people ask me how I deal with it. And the answer is, I don't. I'm prepared. I don't vary. There's no such thing as a big game. Every time I walk on the mound, it's the same approach, same mindset. And I tell people, like, if you have a surgeon, if you want a surgeon coming in, operating exam, it's not that big an operation. The great surgeons, the great lawyers, every case, every operation is on the highest level, using their knowledge, ability, and the consistency of it, never wavering. And I think it's a great lesson to learn that there's no such thing as a big game, no such thing as a big sale, no such thing as a big meeting, because you're disrespecting all the other meetings and the other sales. I think every sale, every meeting has to be the most important one. And you don't want to waver your mental mindset and your attitude with an up and down approach, depending on what you think's big and what you think's not so big.
Awesome response there. And I think that anybody listening can take some lessons away from that. And I really like what you said about by not taking things seriously, say in a meeting, you're being disrespectful to the people in that meeting. That's an interesting way to frame it. And I really, really like that. So,
Thank you.
Brandon, you've had an incredible journey, starting with a one-room office to purchasing Yankee Stadium. Can you share the pivotal moments that shaped your entrepreneurial path?
I started in a small office at $400 a month rent and a $4,000 investment to a $50 million company, and certainly built an industry up amongst it, besides making a lot of money. I took a hobby and turned it into an industry, which certainly has paid off. And it's been really good. I mean, it's been very gratifying. But when I think about like some of the most important lessons is really some of the, I think the brilliance is in the basic, simple stuff. First of all, try to avoid raising more money than you need. The more money you raise, more accountability, and the more pressure you're going to put on yourself to not only do well, but to make money for your investors. And it does sometimes take a while. I always think like, even when I started my first company, although I started a few, it always takes like 4 years to get everything kind of set up solid and get your vision clear. And if you're pressed to do things faster, sometimes you're compromised about what you should and shouldn't be doing. I think the second thing is spending a lot less money than you have. Like cash flow, profit is critical, but cash is king. Like making sure your cash flow is positive, not overspending, not getting ahead of yourself is one of the most important ingredients in entrepreneurship and starting off. And then you got to brace yourself. You got to be good at difficult. If you're not prepared to take some risk and you want to start something new, it's probably not a good, it's not a good fit. Starting new businesses are risky. Starting entrepreneurial businesses is even more riskier. And it comes with risk. And there's a good chance you may fail. And you got to brace yourself to deal with the difficulties. The really good entrepreneurs are not that much talented than the bad ones. They just have the resilience to work it out. Like I think one of my keys is that I'm resilient and I figure stuff out. I'm not afraid to abandon a dream and an idea I had a year and a half ago because it's not working out and try something else. I think sometimes people get SOS, they get stuck on stupid. And I think just because you came up with a great idea and a dream, you raise money, doesn't mean it's a good idea. And sometimes you need to abandon it. And I think I see a lot of people that start off with really good ideas. They don't seem to be able to execute it. And you got to be able to move on and change direction. If you can do that, there's a good chance you can win.
I do have a follow-up on this, Brandon. At the beginning of the podcast, you had mentioned that you're a technology immigrant. What did you mean by that?
Well, I mean, listen, I'm the first to do an online auction and first in collectibles to even do a website. But just so you know, it took me like 2 years just to learn how to turn my computer on. Like I had somebody in my office would come on and turn my computer on and get me set up because I didn't even know how to do it. It can be very daunting when you get into the tech and to the online part of the business. But it can be gratifying when you figure it out. And what's funny is this new company is all online. Everything's online. Everything's a marketplace. Everything's done through social media. So, when you think about it, like it's amazing that I've made the transformation. But one of the things I tell people is like, if you're green, you're growing. But if you're ripe, you're rotten. And you cannot get stuck in your ways. So I put a bunch of young kids around me that taught me about social media, taught me how to post, taught me how to do video production, taught me how to go and build up some of the different social stuff to get people to interact. And I've always kept really, really smart people around me on the e-commerce part, knowing that's not necessarily my strength. And gradually over the years, I've gotten better at it. But I think when I talk to older people and that, well, I'm not on Facebook, I'm not on Instagram, I'm not on Snapchat. I'm like, why? Everybody else is. Like, why would you distance yourself? It's been really good for me. I'm a flexible guy that really doesn't feel like I know much. I'm always in learning mode. And I think the most important thing, I think, in business is what's your rate of growth. If you really want to look at a great company, there's always a rate of growth on some level, whether it's on the business development, new product development, training and developing their staff. There's always got to be growth. And if you don't have growth, it's really hard to win and it's hard to be happy. A lot of happiness comes with growth and gratitude. And I think for me, I've always been a little shortcoming on the gratitude part, but I've increased my level of gratitude for what I have and what I'm trying to do and be just grateful that I'm able to do it. So I would say like happiness resides on the cross section of gratitude and growth. If you want to be happier, turn up the volume on your gratitude, turn up the volume on your rate of growth. I know you're probably pretty smart, but could you be smarter? Could you do a little better? Could you know a little bit more? And people that stop growing, that's your first sign of headed towards a neighborhood of misery.
For those listening, I would say rewind that for the last 3 minutes and listen to it again because Brandon is dropping some gold nuggets there. So great advice. So yeah, I really like the SOS analogy too. Stuck on stupid. That one is good. I'm gonna have to borrow that one and put it in the toolbox. Kind of bridging it to the next discussion is building business relationships. So David and I, over the last several years, building great business relationships is crucial. And I know they've been a pillar for your success. What's your advice to those who are listening for establishing and nurturing meaningful business connections?
Well, here's the thing. First of all, I love when people start talking about, relationships are everything. Let's not be confused about how important they are, especially if you're playing the long game. But what I like to talk more about is how do you initiate relationships? Building relationships for young people out there, like how do we even get a relationship started? And I think initiating relationships is critical. And then you can build them and then you can keep them because, you got to value them. But I think what's really important, at least the way I look at it is before you start going out there and networking, which is a common, I'm going out to network. I'm like, get to know a little better. We all know the average of about 200 people. It's about the average, I think, between cousins, relatives, friends, neighbors. Get to know those 200 people and who they know before you start meeting complete strangers. I always say it's not who you know and it's not what you know, but it's what you know about who. If you take a minute, just really think about who you know and actually who you like and who you already have a relationship with, maybe go a little further with it, you'd be surprised how far that could take because there's nothing better than going to somebody that likes you, that you have a relationship with. What better referral are you going to get than somebody like that? You meet a common stranger and there's some work to be cut out. So, back to that. So, again, now you let's say you've mastered that and you've got this nice little list of people that you know already, got to meet all of them and the people they know. But to initiate a relationship, the first thing one must think about is what value can you provide? Relationships get initiated and started by providing value. And value is what you can do for someone they can't do for themselves. So at the end of the day, when I meet somebody, particularly like a famous athlete or whatever, most people think, well, what can I get out of this? Well, this is going to be big. I get this big customer. I met the CEO. My immediate reaction is, what could I do for this person that they can't do for themselves? What value can I provide? What can I do to make this person's life easier? So when you think about people that you know and that really like you, they have a good relationship with, usually you're adding some kind of value to them on some level. And the more of that value you can add to somebody, those are the people you have probably the better relationships with. So first thing is, get to know the people you already know better. Take a minute, do inventory of all the people you actually know. You'd be surprised how many people there are that you've gone to school with, people that you get your hair cut, people that you get bartenders, family, cousins. And then the second thing is, if you want to start initiating relationships, start thinking about what value you have to offer them and making sure that the value proposition is what you step forward with to initiate a new relationship.
I really like that answer. I'm curious, when you meet a professional athlete, what is your value proposition or how are you providing value?
At this point, it's a lot different because I've been doing this a long time. So there's not much that there's just a million things that I could do for an athlete that my goal is to try to find out what help he needs. So it's not about what I know and it's not about what the answers I got. It's the question. It's like, trying to dig in and find out what's really important. I would say, you got to figure out who's important, what's important, and do what's important for who's important every day. When I meet a high-level athlete, first thing I want to do is try to figure out what's important in what's going on for them. And when I know what's important, I see if there's any difficulty rattling around with that. that's when I want to jump in. Even if it's not convenient, even if it costs me money, even if it's something that has nothing to do with my business. If I could figure out some kind of solution to maybe a problem that they're having or struggle with, I'm participating in. I'm going to jump in. That's where I want to get. And that's the entry point. The entry point is where the struggle is, where the potential problem is, frustration. I meet a professional baseball player. He doesn't need my help, showing him how to hit. So he's looking for, he's maybe trying to start a foundation. He's looking maybe trying to find a place to live. He may need a new car. He just may be lost and has no family or friends in the area. Everybody's a little different. And that's why the questions you ask, obviously having a lot of answers is important. You want to be really good at what you do. You got to have knowledge, but having the right questions and really listening as you meet different people along the way and trying to find out what's important to them and then zero in on what's important to them will help you initiate or at least build relationships that maybe have started. I don't think it's that complicated, but people, listen, everybody wants what they want. They got a number to hit, trying to make sales. I get it. There's pressure, but you got to play the long game. And, you got to make sure that when you meet people and they're good quality people and it's somebody you want to do business with, a company you want to work with, you got to have the patience to develop and build relationships through value proposition, meaning doing what you can for these people because they can't do it themselves.
I really like that. And I think a professional athlete is a great example here because from an outsider looking in, they seemingly have everything. But you just listed off a number of things that somebody, when approaching an athlete, could pitch or help with. So moving on, your expertise in marketing and personal branding have been widely recognized. Can you delve into the core principles that have fueled your marketing success?
I know this is not going to be a sexy answer, but I think it's just the obvious truth. I think for me, I don't run away from the truth, good, bad, or ugly. I mean, if you know what you're doing, you know your product, and you have a good handle on who your customer is, the best strategy to enhance your brand is to tell the honest truth. And that's how I've gone about my PR, my marketing, advertising, is really analyzing. Well, actually, let me say it betterly. Like, if you want to really increase the level of your branding, increase the level of your common sense. And common sense comes from being able to take your feet and put them in someone else's shoes. We really call that empathy. But empathy is like taking yourself, putting it in someone else's head. So when I think about my branding and why I've been able to get spot on about branding and rebranding and making sure that my whatever my platforms match up to the way people think, it's because I can get externally outside of my own head and get into other people's heads. My kids would tell you that, my dad's not that smart, but he's got a really high level of common sense. And I think that's where it comes from. You got to know what people are thinking. You got to know what people are feeling. You got to know what people want, more importantly than what you want, than what you're thinking and what you're feeling. And when you could do that, that's how you could brand and hit it right on the head. You can find the white space. And I think it's just critical that you want to rebrand, people want to build a brand, start with increasing your common sense and start really understanding the way people look and feel about a certain category for a certain part of service or product.
I like that. So, Brandon, I kind of want to pivot here. I see here you've authored 4 books. And so I kind of want to get into that a little bit and kind of share, what inspired you to write the books and kind of go over it a little bit on each one and share with.
I'm in the middle of writing, and the 4th book has nothing to do with business or sales. It's about urban policing and the difficulties without having communities. And my feeling is how we've lost one of the most important aspects of our life living in this country, which is safety. And it's starting to escalate bigger and greater every year. And we need to actually fix the problems we're having in our communities and some of the connections we have with how police can police and what communities, particularly in urban areas, need so that we can get along better and we can manage this stuff better. Because right now we're in deep trouble with some of the levels of crime, with retail stores closing, and people just are doing a lot of different things they shouldn't be doing in urban areas that are creating a lot of discomfort. The first 3 books, the business playbook I wrote when I was coming out of college, I couldn't find a job. And I think, finding work is really important. I wish kids would start doing it before it's too late. The kids should be looking for work in high school and middle school. Learning how to find work and learning how to create value so that somebody wants to hire you is one of the most important things we do. So when I couldn't get a job coming out of college, I'd been working since I'm 10. I said, I'm going to go and write a book about all the different little things you got to do, and you can't wait to get started. You got to have balls, my mother's favorite line. That was a book all about, all the stuff I learned from my mom. And it basically just gives you a whole outlook of how I built our company and like what you do after you have success. Most people are preparing many, many years to the college they want to go to. They're preparing to be the profession they want, the family that they want to have, and they spend tons of time, but they don't really spend a whole lot of time what they're going to do after that. And what do you do when you get in your 40s and you have made a lot of money? you have had success. And that book kind of outlines a little bit of what the real important stuff is. It's a long story how I come up with that book, because it doesn't tell you what to do, but it showed you what I did. And I went to a lot of gurus around the country, about marital, how you become a better dad, how you become fit better, how you eat better, sleep better. There's so much good stuff in this book. And a lot of it is really not mine, but all these different really smart people around the country. And I think, listen, at the end of the day, if you want to have a high level of growth and your rate of growth is important to you, I mean, why wouldn't you go to the best and smartest people you can to show you how to do it? And I think you have to become more than one-dimensional, where, obviously the business and making money is important. We all go to trade shows, read books, seminars, but you got to take the same kind of interest on your health, same interest on your family, friends, fitness, faith. All that stuff are really important funnels too that you got to make sure are growing. So I try to explain all those different funnels and some of the things I did to just grow in those funnels to be a better person.
All right. Very nice. Let's chat a little bit more about Collectible Exchange, what it does, people does it serve, and if people are interested in checking it out, along with the acquisition that you just made as well. Let's chat about that.
Well, thank you for asking. And, Collectible Exchange is interesting because a lot of people save a lot of things, particularly the people that are a little bit older. We've all been big savers, and people are just stuck. They don't know what they have. There's a big push now. If you have a collectible, you need to get it authenticated. If you have an old trading card, you need to get it graded. And, people don't know how to do that. They don't know what to do, and they're not sure what stuff's worth. So what our company does at Collectible Exchange, we focus on those people, and we get collections all day, every day, all week. It's amazing the kind of savers there are with people out there. But what's crazy is that's the main focus, just helping people liquidate, turn that cloth to cash. People are sitting with closets and memorabilia, all that stuff, and we're helping them. Star Stock, same thing. People sitting with trading cards all over the house. Parents save their cards. They don't know which ones are good, which ones are bad. We help them get it graded. We help them kind of give an idea which ones are valuable. And then we also have a vault that will warehouse those cards for them as well.
Okay. And did you get into this out of personal interest? Were you a trading card? Has trading cards been a part of your life for a long time?
Yeah, I mean, I've been a big card collector and a big collector, and I have everything. Frankly, I have a lot of issues. So I've been trading and collecting everything. But I got deeper into the pool on the trading card, which I hadn't done before, because it is a big part of the business. And a lot of people are collecting cards. Card business has grown. And I feel like for me to be authentic and cover the aspects of collecting, which I try to do on Collectible Exchange, this was an opportunity for me to dig deeper in on an area that was really important to people and give them solutions to some of the problems I'm seeing out there. As I've been in business for 4 years, more and more people come to me with trading card issues. They have all these cards and don't know what to do with. A lot of people are sitting with a lot of garbage. The cards are not worth much. So this StarStock.com comes in at a perfect time. The trading card business is definitely booming, doing well. And there's definitely a need for somebody to give insight. What's it worth? What to do with these cards? Should you hold them? Should you fold them? So that's the goal with that company as well.
Yeah, that's cool. So anybody that's got something, not only do you guys on Collectible Exchange, not only do you help people grade them all that, you also have stuff on here for sale. I'm looking on the site now. I see some Chuck Liddell I might be looking to buy.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many cool things on this site. I mean, my ultimate goal is just to have everything. I mean, we're working on so many deals, players and teams, and so on any given day, this site dramatically changes. And what's great is a lot of the stuff is really priced incredibly well too. So that's nice, because I remember I'm selling other people's stuff. So a lot of the times the stuff is priced to sell. So it makes it easier without a huge overhead here. So it's exciting and it's fun. I mean, I want to take it all home myself, but I can't do that. My wife will kill me.
I'm going to have to own myself back on this side here. So no, that's awesome. Well, cool. Brandon, before we get into the fire round, is there any questions we didn't ask you that you want to share?
No, first, I just appreciate the opportunity. I mean, for those of you who know me out there from Stein, I've been committed to this category forever, but I do speak around the country, and all my money goes to charity. So you get that on BrandonSteiner.com if you want any information about that. If you're looking to drive your salespeople or come up with an innovative lab, I'm happy to come and speak to your group, and just as an FYI. But all is good. I mean, I appreciate the time, and, I'm having fun at 65, which is important. It's like you definitely want to be working, you want to be having fun and growing, and you always get a little nervous, bored. Is this going to be for me? So I've been really fortunate to be able to keep enjoying that.
Oh, that's awesome. Cool. So every guest we have in the show, we run through a fire round. It's a series of 4 rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Of course.
What is your favorite book?
Swim with the Sharks, Harvey McKay. He's been a mentor and a friend. I've learned so much from Harvey. Definitely look up McKay 66. They're principles that I lived by for the last 40 years. And I should be put in jail for everything I've stolen from Harvey.
The next one, what are your hobbies?
Well, that's a good question. Well, certainly going to a lot of games and collecting. And certainly when I play basketball, when I can with my friends, I have an indoor court at my house. So we have our bi-weekly games, which is always a big deal to me. If anybody out there has any ideas, I'm looking for some new hobbies. So please send them to me. I love your messaging. I'm looking for new hobbies, new ideas. And my wife and I definitely are traveling a lot. That's definitely on the agenda. Do a lot of.
All right. Question 3. What is one thing that you do not miss about working for the man?
Oh, boy. The meetings, the forecasting, and the lack of empathy. When you work for somebody that doesn't have empathy and they're not thinking about what you're thinking about, even though you're the expert, very frustrating. The meetings and forecasting, I've just never been a big fan of, sitting there every month and trying to predict what's going to happen, which you have no control over, by the way, which is the whole oxymoron of it all. Like, you don't have control over anything in life, let alone these numbers, who's going to come to my site and buy stuff. But, you're just guessing. And as you get into the bigger companies, that's such a big part of it. I don't miss it one iota now that I'm working back on my own free.
All right, last one. What do you think sets apart successful entrepreneurs from those who give up, fail, or never get started?
Oh, boy. I mean, there's a few different things. I certainly think, you got to be resilient, no doubt, and you got to be curious. I think the two most important ingredients, if I were just to nail down two, would be you got to have a high level of curiosity. It's not really about where you are, but it's what you want to accept. And curiosity is the driving force behind that, to not just take the status quo, but be curious enough to find out, want to find out more. And then the second thing is you got to maintain a high level of enthusiasm. You got to go about it with a really opportunistic spirit. And those are two things you can control. The root word of enthusiasm is enthusios, and that means to be with God. So as you increase your curiosity and you're enthusiastic, you need to do it with faith to know that what you're doing is going to be good. It's going to work out. You're going to grow. You're going to learn. Regardless of the result, there's always, when you put your heart into something good's always going to come from it. So I think enthusiasm and curiosity are two really, really big ingredients that you can control. That's your energy, your attitude, your mental mindset. There's a lot of things you can't control, which is the majority of things. But those are things you can control.
Excellent answers.
Absolutely. Brandon, want to thank you for being a guest on the Firing the Man podcast. If people are interested in getting in touch with you or getting on Collectible Exchange, what would be the best way?
The Collectible Exchange, you can jump in. I register if you want to find out about the eBay Live show. No doubt it's going to be amazing. These shows are going to be a lot of fun. Go to BrandonSteiner.com. I'm a big LinkedIn guy. Message me. Follow me on LinkedIn. I'm over the limit, but follow me. Message me if you have a question. Don't be hesitant to go to Collectible Shop. Be the free book. And I love hearing from people. So tell me the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever. I'm happy to answer, help you respond. Look forward to the conversations. It's always going to be a better pulse of what's going on. And I appreciate being on the show today. Thank you.
Before you go, we wanted to share a new service that Ken and I have been using called Getita that has made us over $10,000 in Amazon reimbursements. The service requires no monthly subscription, and Getita collects a small percentage of the money they recover for you. It takes less than 5 minutes to set up and works on all Amazon marketplaces. Go to Getita.com, Getida.com, and enter promo code FTM400. That's FTM for Firing the Man 400 to get your first $400 in reimbursements commission free. How much money does Amazon owe you?